and welcome to Legal Affairs. My name is Diamond Litty, and I'm the public defender of the 19th Judicial Circuit. Oh my goodness, we have a very great show coming up, and we are going to talk probably about one of the hottest topics going right now. And we are very lucky to have with us Isai Bonilla, who is an immigration lawyer and crimmigration lawyer locally. And we are going to be talking about, obviously, immigration and the basics. I don't know. It dawned on me the other day that many people don't even know the basics about it. So we're talking about it all the time, but we need to know really what's going on. So welcome.
Thank you. No, it's an honor to be here and to talk to you about such a pretty important topic, some things that are going on right now. And I think whatever information we give out will be a huge help.
Oh, absolutely. And so let's start with you. Where did you go to law school? Have you lived in the area all your life?
So, well, when I was younger, I lived in Rhode Island up north. My parents decided to move to Port St. Lucie in 2005, 2006. So I moved down when I was a kid. So I grew up in Port St. Lucie, Southport Middle School, Port St. Lucie High School. I did dual enrollment in Indian River State College, and that's when I transferred out to Miami at FIU. And then for law school, I went to NOVA in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been practicing in this area?
In this area, is I would say about 6 months.
Oh, really? So you are really brand new. Well, I researched and called and everything, and to try and find someone who really was knowledgeable about the subject, and your name came up. But I was absolutely shocked, I have to say, at how few lawyers practice this area. And you know, I get it. It wasn't as prevalent as it is now, but certainly it is now. And I'm surprised there aren't more people specializing in it. But let's start from the basics.
Sure.
What are the ways that someone can legally enter this country?
So there's the most common way is a family member petitions, let's say a husband or wife or a child or even a parent. And what happens is the paperwork, you start it here in the United States. Once everything gets approved, then they send a letter saying that your case has been approved. We have opened a visa for this family member. That family member does an interview in their home country, and then basically they get a stamp on their passport to then enter lawfully. But then it just really depends on what kind of family member. Children, usually children and spouses, they get priority.
Right.
So there's quicker processing times. If it's like a brother, an uncle, or a grandparent, it can take a long time.
Wow.
So a lot of people.
And when you say a long time,
it can be like 10 to 15 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. Depending on which country you come from as well. I think Mexico is super backlogged, but generally it can take that long if it's not an immediate relative.
Okay, if it's an immediate relative, how long does it take generally?
It can take anywhere from, I would say, 18 months to 2 to 3 years max, around there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and again, this is the basics, but I need to be educated as well.
Sure.
Where does a family member go to even get the paperwork?
Sure. So there's a lot of families that they can't afford lawyers. They're expensive, and I understand and I feel for them. So they go to a paralegal or a notary, and the problem with that is these paralegals and these notaries that have their own business that are filling out their forms, they're not filling it out completely.
Right.
And sometimes when they file it without supporting evidence, and it causes more delays. So usually the more common route is they hire an attorney for it, and that would be step one. At least get a consultation, talk to somebody, and see if it's worth the investment. Because it really is an investment. You're trying to bring your loved one here, and that's something that the family needs to make that decision. Do we go with a lawyer, or do we try to do it ourselves?
Right. What, and the forms are online?
Yes, the forms are online. Some of the forms you can file electronically. It's on like an application. And there's filing fees. I think for petitions around $760 around there. So a lot of families they're encouraged.
Wow. Yeah.
They're encouraged because I can do it online. I can just type a form and just pay it online. But there's more to it than that.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So at least talk to an attorney, and if you feel comfortable doing it yourself, then do it yourself.
Okay. So we've done all the paperwork. It's been filed. It's been approved, and they get a visa. Mm-hmm. Okay. What is a visa?
A visa is just is the United States saying we're going to give you permission to come into the United States, assuming that you pass like a background check.
Okay.
So that's like their last time to do fingerprints. They process you to make sure you're not some sort of danger or threat to the national security, is what they call it.
I've got to stop you. If you have a prior arrest in the country, does that automatically exclude you, or depends on?
It could. It depends. I would say now, for today's day and age, more likely. Before, they would try to give you the benefit of the doubt. Like, for example, if you can show some rehabilitation, or maybe the charges were dropped, or whatever it is, they will try to give you that. They'll give you an interview at least,
right.
And then you can explain yourself at the interview.
Right.
Now it's a little more difficult. So if that is an issue, that's something that the lawyer has to advise the family, because obviously we can't guarantee a result, but they should also be aware, like, this is going to be an issue in the case, so we got to start now.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get a visa. You come into the country legally with a visa. Mm-hmm. How long can you stay?
So once you enter the United States, you got your visa, usually you become a resident.
Okay.
If it's based on a marriage, it's a little different because there's something called conditional residence, which is just a fancy way of saying, we're going to give you your residency. You can stay in the United States, but we want to double check that this marriage is legit. This is not a fake marriage. So after 2 to 3 years, file the paperwork again, and we'll review it, and we'll just go ahead and give you your permanent residency. So generally speaking, for the most common is spouses.
Right.
They have to go through that. If it's a regular family member, they usually get it immediately.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so this is very interesting. Mm-hmm. So the visa, if all goes well and it's not a fake marriage and that you don't get in any trouble, etc., that visa automatically turns into a permanent residency?
It could.
Wow. Okay.
And generally, once you become a resident, let's say the marriage is okay, you guys have a family, you have kids together, no issues, you file for another petition to get rid of your conditional residence and then to become a regular permanent resident. After, I believe, 5 years, there's some exceptions to that. After 5 years, you can ask for citizenship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then most families wait to that 5th year, and then that's when they're locked in. Because technically, the government can still deport you even with a green card, becoming a resident. It's it's more difficult, but generally speaking, once you have your green card, is what they call it, or your residency, you're more protected, opposed to someone who just comes in with a work permit.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so let's distinguish. So in 5 years, if everything goes right, you can, and what you see the pictures or you hear about the people going to, I guess, Miami or whatever and get sworn in as U.S. citizens.
Yes.
Can anyone swear someone in, or is there a kind of a celebration or whatever that they go twice a year and get sworn in, or how does that work?
Sure. So once you file your paperwork to become a citizen and you pass the interview, everything is good, you pass the exam, they swear you in right then and there.
Okay.
And there's an officer who's authorized to swear in people to become naturalized citizens.
Okay.
And it does become a celebratory moment for the family.
Oh, sure.
They have cameras there already waiting just in case you want to take a picture. There's the flag there, and they give you a certificate, and it's a great milestone for a lot of people.
So let me distinguish. You can get your visa, come in 5 years later, have the opportunity to become a U.S. citizen, but if you don't want to do that, you can stay here legally without being a U.S. citizen?
Yes, because
Okay.
since the government allowed you to come in, they've given you the visa to enter
Okay.
the U.S. Now they've granted you status, which is the residency.
Right.
And then from there, it just depends if you want to do the conditional, or if you're here based on a marriage, or here based on a family member like mom, dad, or a
Right.
child. Then usually you get it right then and there.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Now, please, and again, we're doing basics, but I'm telling you, I talk to very intelligent people who don't know the answers to these questions. What is the difference between a green card and a visa?
So a visa just says you can come into the United States.
Okay.
For example, the most common one are tourist visas. Depending which country you're coming from, you have to ask permission to
Right.
even travel in the United States for vacation.
Right.
Most people do that. They come in lawfully, but then they overstay. Once they overstay their visa, they could accrue something called unlawful presence, which could become an issue down the road if they meet somebody. But a visa basically says, we're going to let you in. That's it. And then the question after that is, okay, we're going to let you in, but what kind of status are you going to get? And that could be a residency. Some people, very few, depending on what they've gone through in their home country, they can get asylum. If they've been a victim of a crime, things like that. They can then enter lawfully with a green card based on those exceptions as well. But the most common is family.
Okay. But what distinguishes, is basically a visa and a green card the same thing except for the length of stay, or am I wrong?
So the visa is just permission to enter.
Right.
And it doesn't give you lawful status. So the
Okay.
visa usually is temporary.
Okay.
We're going to let you in so you can then go ahead and do what you got to do with your immigration case.
Right.
But this visa will eventually expire.
Okay.
And that's
how
where
long?
most-
And again, how long does it take till it expires?
Usually around 6 months.
Wow.
Around
Okay.
6 months, depending
Okay.
on which type of visa, because there's so many different categories. But generally, it's around 6 months.
Okay. And the green card?
The green card is if you enter it as just a regular family member and it's not based on marriage, you can get your residency. You're good. You can work. You can stay in the country and then just stay out of trouble, and eventually you get your citizenship. But on a visa, if you enter the U.S., you got your stamp. Let's say you got married, and they give you conditional residence. We're testing the marriage for a couple of
Right.
years.
Right.
So far, no issues, and then we're down the road. We'll see if we'll give you permanent residence.
Okay.
Which is pretty powerful for a lot of families, because then they can stay, they can work, and it's really hard for ICE to take that away from you.
Okay. Okay. So if I just want to go to another country, I have to get a visa? Or if I have a passport, I can go there? And again, I know these
Sure.
are basic questions, but...
No, it's a great question. So for U.S. passport holders, there's a lot of countries that you can go to without getting a visa. It just depends on the country.
Okay.
But the U.S. itself has a list where if you're from this country, you must, if you want to enter for, let's say, tourist purposes, you need permission. You need to go through a visa process.
Okay.
You fill out an application, usually in the consulate in their country. They offer it in their native language as well. I think there's a fee. They review it. They might do an interview, they might not. And then they'll say, okay, we'll approve it, but you got to come back in 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we obviously have a lot of people who have not followed the protocol, who have crossed the border from Mexico, or overstayed their visa, whatever. Now enters the enforcement. How does that work? I mean, what is ICE?
So ICE immigration is it's like its own world.
Yeah.
So
I know. That's why I said I have to have a show on this topic, because we're talking about it and no one knows what the
Yes.
answers are.
Yes.
So you're great. You're great.
Thank you,
Okay,
thank
go
you.
ahead.
So there's a Department of Homeland Security,
Right.
and within that branch, there's enforcement removal operations.
Okay.
Which then, under that is ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. So what ICE, what they primarily focus on is enforcing any sort of removal.
Yeah.
Kind of like in criminal where you have to do check-ins every week or
Right.
every month or
Right.
probation.
Right.
It's similar where, let's say you crossed the border. You haven't applied for status.
Right.
What happened back then is sometimes they'll give you a court date.
Right.
You cross the border, you say you're scared to go back to your country because of some things that happened in the past. And they'll say, okay, look, we can't give you status, but we're going to give you court.
Okay.
But you got to report to ICE every month, every 6 months, every year, just to make sure that you're not committing crimes.
Right.
Maybe you're paying taxes, things like that.
Right.
So that's what ICE primarily focuses on. Now, they're more focused on arrest and detention. Before, it was mostly just supervision. Now, I would say it's both, but more so on arrest and detention.
And can they literally, and this would be ICE, I guess, can they literally just pull someone over? Is it legal to just say, you know, that person looks like they don't fit here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull them over and see if they're legal. Can they do that?
Under federal case law, they can. And the primary reason for that is they're trying to say that this is just national security. This is a consensual encounter. We can ask you, hey, what's your name? What's your status? And people can say no. The problem is a lot of these immigrants don't know, right? And they're scared, they're nervous, kind of how like a regular person acts when the police pulls them over.
Yes.
So combine the fact that most of these people, they don't speak the English language, but they're speaking to them in English. They're intimidated, so they answer honestly.
Right.
And then what happens is, from what I've seen, is usually local police officer would do a traffic stop. They will then alert ICE. ICE will then come to the scene and
Okay.
verify status. But I have seen very few cases where Border Patrol just pulls people over.
And that's legal. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes. Yes. Now, if it's an egregious enough violation, then there might be a motion to suppress the file in the immigration case.
Right.
But there's been some recent case law where basically these officers can briefly detain you and ask you about your status.
Okay.
For national security concerns.
But if they say, I don't want to tell you my name, they have that right?
They definitely have that right.
Can they detain you then?
They will have to base their information on what they got, but generally they will probably detain you anyways.
Right.
It's more so we'll detain you first, and we'll ask questions later.
Okay. And when we say detain, we're talking about taking them to the county jail?
It starts off. It could start off in the county jail, but now there's a facility in West Palm Beach or in Riviera Beach,
Right.
where if there is no sort of criminal investigation involved, what ICE will do is they will transport them to a processing center in Riviera Beach, where they verify their information, they take their fingerprints, and then from there they get transported to an immigration jail.
And where is the immigration jail?
So what used to be the immigration jail, there's Chrome, which is in Miami.
Right, right.
There's another one in Broward called Broward Transitional Center. But since there's been so many arrests recently, a lot of jails are signing agreements with ICE to house immigrants.
Right.
So generally speaking, it will be in Broward or Miami. But what we've been seeing now in the immigration field is they're detaining a lot of people in these county jails.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Because they've run out of room at those
Yes.
other places.
I think the closest one here is Moorhaven.
Yeah.
There's a jail there that signed an agreement. They're transporting clients there.
Okay. And these are clients that did nothing wrong. They just were pulled over or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So most of them are just driving to work or on
Right.
the way home from work
Right.
or going to church on the way home from church.
Okay. So now they're in the immigration facilities. They've done nothing wrong, but they are here illegally.
Mm-hmm.
Do they put them on a plane and send? What happens?
So two things could happen. This is where talking to an immigration lawyer will be a huge help for any family member. But we had to figure out first, does this person have a deportation order? Did they miss court? Did they get turned away at the border in the past?
Right.
Because if someone crosses the border and Border Patrol says, no, we're sending you back, you didn't have a court hearing, but you have a deportation order.
Okay.
So let's say you get pulled over for driving to work, and this was like 10 years after the fact. that deportation order is still on your record because it's all based on prints.
Okay.
So the first step is, does this person have a removal order? Can we do anything to pause or stay their deportation? Or in the perfect scenario is, okay, this person doesn't have an order. This person should have court, and therefore we can try to argue for a bond hearing with immigration. And then the judge hopefully considers the case and can make a decision as to release.
And this is a federal judge?
It's a federal immigration judge. It has its own court system. But there's been some more recent developments too, where unfortunately there's new case law within the immigration appellate courts that if you're here without status, you're not entitled to a bond hearing. The immigration judges lack jurisdiction. So there's a lot of lawsuits right now, federal lawsuits saying that that's not right, and all that litigation is still pending.
Okay. A hearing here in St. Lucie County would be held at the federal courthouse or in our regular courthouse?
The hearings were actually in St. Lucie County. It could be either at the Orlando Immigration Court or the Miami Immigration Court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew this would happen. We're almost out of time. You're going to have to come back and finish this.
Sure.
Seriously.
Sure.
But they lose, okay? And I know we're jumping, I don't even want to talk, whatever. They lose. They literally put them on a plane and take them back to their country? What happens?
Yes, let's say they lose, they get issued, the judge signs an order, and the client decides, I'm not going to appeal this decision. They send them back on a plane. Depending on which country you're from, I think for Mexico, if you're detained here in Florida, they're going to try to move you to a different location. It could be Louisiana, Texas, and then they actually give you a bus to your country. Sometimes it's not a plane.
Okay, okay. So they and then just drop you off at the border?
They drop you off at some random city in Mexico if you're from Mexico.
Okay.
And that's, I guess, to save costs for them.
Let's say you're here from Pakistan.
Then they will put you on a plane. Yeah, they'll put you. It might take longer.
Yeah.
It'll take longer because they have to wait until there's space or, I guess, a route available. But generally speaking, when someone already has a deportation order, it can take around, it can be days or it can be weeks, but generally around a month.
So from the time that the deportation order is entered, you're usually out of this country and back over within a month?
Within 30 days, yes.
Wow. This is complicated.
It is, and it's complicated even for us attorneys because we have to navigate Department of Homeland Security. We have to navigate the Office of Immigration for family petitions. Then we have to navigate the immigration court itself. So, and then if there's any sort of criminal charge, we have to navigate that. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and what a lot of lawyers are doing now is they're taking cases into federal court, civil court, and filing habeas petitions.
I see.
To try to get them released.
What is a habeas petition?
So a habeas petition is you're challenging ICE, the government, that they're detaining your client, what they're doing is unconstitutional, and then it shifts the burden back on Department of Homeland Security. And then they have to prove that what they're doing is actually legal. Because since they're stripping away power from the immigration judges to give bonds, now we're going into federal court and basically filing a civil habeas lawsuit and challenging their detention. And we're shifting the burden back to ICE, which is what was the law for the past 30, 40 years. But now there's been some changes.
Wow. And you as a lawyer, I mean, doing criminal, and you obviously do that too, but, the law is changing all the time, but I can't even imagine keeping up with the changes in the immigration realm. Oh, my goodness. I mean, that's...
It's overwhelming, for sure. It's overwhelming, but the immigration community, kind of like the criminal defense bar, is very tight-knit. Everyone supports each other. There's an organization specifically for immigration lawyers where every day we're getting emails about changes.
Oh, really?
So we're always keeping up to date. I think in September, everyone was getting bond hearings. The day after, no one was getting any bond hearings. So we were all figuring it out as it was happening. But thankfully, the support system is there for the attorneys, and that's just immigration. One day you're used to practicing this type of way for the past 5, 10, 15 years, and then one day you got to learn again. Redo it from scratch. That's immigration.
Yeah, no, I thought I had great respect for you before. I really do. No,
I appreciate it.
What? So really, your advice, and I do want to ask this question. I mean, it has changed, and they're aggressively trying to. Is it fair? Is it a fair statement to say to people who are here illegally? There's aggressive acts going on to...
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. I've had people detained when they were fishing. Had people detained. The most common way is traffic stops.
Yeah.
I had one case where an officer from Border Patrol was towing their car, and there's like, call your friend to pick up your car. They called a friend. Does their friend have papers? He's coming too.
Okay, and I have one important question, the burning question.
Sure.
If you're here, like in a criminal case, you've done something wrong, you turn yourself in, you confess, you say, look, it was me that brought, I just, does that, it gives them a benefit in their criminal case.
Sure.
You know,
It sure does.
what about in an if you just go to ICE or Homeland Security and say, I'm here illegally, I can't sleep anymore, is that a benefit, or you're not going to...
It could be. And there's something called voluntary departure, which is I agree to leave, but without a deportation order. And the family
okay.
usually will pay a plane ticket. But in order to get that benefit, you can't have a deportation order. Hopefully no criminal history, and a valid passport, and the funds to pay for a plane ticket. If you check all those boxes, and sometimes it's worth it, but very rarely do clients accept that because their whole life is here. Their family is here, their kids are here. They don't want to just leave on a plane ticket and wonder when they'll come back. Unless if they have like a family petition pending, let's say they got married here in the United States.
Right.
And that case is actually almost done. It might be better to just say, hey, look, you're gonna have to do a consular process anyways, which is you have to go back to your country, you're gonna have to do the interview at the consulate, and then we'll let you back in on a visa.
Right.
If that's gonna happen anyway, sometimes it's worth to do a voluntary departure.
And it doesn't matter if you have children here, or if you are the only illegal person, but the rest of your family are legal. That doesn't give you...
It does. If you've been
Okay.
in the country for 10 years,
Okay.
and you have a U.S. citizen, spouse, parent, or child, or a resident, you might qualify for a defense called cancellation of removal. So you're basically agreeing to the government, say, hey, look, I'm removable. However, here's my defense. I've been here for over 10 years. I have a U.S. citizen child. The hardest part in those type of cases is you have to prove hardship, extreme hardship. Meaning, government, if you deport me, you're going to cause hardship to my son, to my daughter, to my husband, to my mom, my dad, who are citizens or residents. And that's where we have to get creative: medical records, school records, witness statements, testimony, and those cases are usually the ones that keep me up at night.
I bet. Well, you have been wonderful. Thank you
appreciate it.
so much, and this has been great.
No, I appreciate it, and we're here if you guys ever need anything.
Okay, great.